Hello children. Yes, so we have gathered together again in our science lecture to learn something new. And today we are going to start with our new chapter, water and its properties. Yes, so water is a precious gift which God has given us. Yes, and we need to preserve and use it wisely. So now today we are going to see more properties of water. So let us begin. Okay, what are the things that we are going to learn in this chapter? First, we are going to see about floating and sinking. Yes, we see that some things float on the water and some things sink inside the water. So we are going to see what are the properties that help our object to float or sink. Then we are going to see about soluble and insoluble impurities. Yes, so we have seen that some substances will dissolve. That means they will get mixed with the water, but some substance they don't get mixed with the water easily. So that we are going to see. Then separating impurities in water. Okay, so there are so many impurities which are present in water. How we can separate that? We are going to see. And then lastly, we are going to see about purification of drinking water. Yes, we are drinking water which has been purified. So we are going to see how this water is being purified. Now, why are we learning this chapter? Because water is a very important resource. Yes. And it has some unique properties. Yes, we know that water is very important for us. It is used by us in our daily life also, and it is also important for our body. So it is a precious gift which is given to us by God. Okay, so the first property of water that we are going to see is about floating and sinking. Okay, so in the picture you can see that what is sinking. Whenever something goes inside the water, it is known as sinking. When something remains on top of the water, it is known as the object is floating. Yes, like we can see the boat is floating on the water. But whenever we put a stone in the water, it will sink. It will go inside the water. Okay, so now let us see. Some objects float on water while some sink in water. An object will float or sink depending on the following. Okay, so depending on the following means depending on the properties of the object. Okay, it depends on the object whether the object will sink or whether the object will float. So now let us see which are the different properties. First is the material it is made of. Yes, so it depends on the material of the object. If we use a wooden material, it will float on the water. Yes, why? Because it is lightweight. It is lightweight than the water. But if we use a stone, what happens? It is heavier than water, so it will sink in the water. Then next is the shape. Yes, we have seen the shape of boat. Yes, and big ship also. It is streamlined. So because of the shape also, the object may sink or float. Now the third property is the amount of air it has. A hollow ball will float, whereas a solid ball will sink. Okay, so we have seen that if we put a balloon, okay, so if we put a balloon on a water, what will happen? It will float on the water. But if we put a heavy stone, which is a solid ball, then what will happen? It will sink in the water. Yes. So these are the different properties, the material, the shape and the amount of air which is present inside the material will help the object to either float or sink in the water. Okay, now one more important property that we are going to see is soluble and insoluble impurities. So what is the meaning of soluble? That we have to see first. So soluble is, okay, whenever you take salt, okay, whenever you take salt, what will happen? You have to, okay, we will do one experiment. Okay, with the help of your parents, you can do an experiment. You take a glass of water and you take 1 tablespoon of salt, and you put 1 tablespoon of salt into the water and mix it. Yes, for 2 to 3 minutes. What will happen? The salt will dissolve in the water. Yes, you can see the salt. No, the salt will disappear. Now the same thing you will do with the mud. Okay, you will take some mud and you will dissolve it in the another glass of water. When you will mix, what will happen? Your water will turn into brown color. That means the mud is not mixed or not dissolved in the water. So if anything dissolves in the water, it is known as soluble. And if anything does not dissolve in water, it is known as insoluble. Okay. Now let us see. Water is essential for life on earth. Yes, we all know that water is very important. We get water from many sources such as ponds, rivers, lakes and streams. Yes, in Surat we have Tapi river. Yes, so we get water from Tapi river. In the same way, different places have different water bodies from which they get water. Water reaches our house through pipelines and taps. Yes, so we use our tape to take water. Okay, so the tap water is usually dirty and needs to be cleaned before it is being used. It usually consists of impurities like sand, mud, germs, chemicals and sometimes even salt. Okay, so what happened? The water is coming from the river, so it may consist of some impurities. So we need to remove these impurities, correct? So we are treating our water so that all these impurities are being removed. Okay. Now, there are two types of impurities which are found in water. So, two types of impurities. First is the soluble impurities. Yes, soluble impurities example is salt, germs and chemicals. So, these soluble means we cannot see with our eyes that this impurity is present inside the water. And another type of impurities is insoluble or suspended impurities such as sand, mud and grit. Okay, so this sand, mud and grit, they are, whenever you visit a riverside, you can see sand, mud and grit are present over there. So they will mix with our water. But this we can see with our naked eyes that this impurity is present. So two type of impurities are present inside our water. One is soluble, which we cannot see. Another is insoluble, which we can see. Okay, so today we have seen some properties of water. Now rest of the properties we are going to see in the next lecture. Bye bye.